Hi, 24 female, I'm engaged to Jess, 26 female, and want my uncle, 49, to walk me down the aisle. Let's get into the backstory. When I was younger, I had a twin brother, James, who had a heart condition. My parents obviously cared about James more than me. They would shower him with love and attention while I was the black sheep. Eventually, when we were 9, his condition got worse, so he was in and out of the hospital. My parents then shipped me off to live with my uncle and his wife, Sarah, 46. It was the best thing to ever happen to me when I started living with them. My uncle and his wife gave me love and attention, something I'd desired for the longest time. Eventually, my brother got better, but they never came to get me back and completely abandoned me. I hadn't seen them in 5 years. When I was 16, they wanted to contact me, but I didn't want to. My uncle pressured me into it, so I did start having contact. Well, let's fast forward to the present. As I said before, I'm now engaged to Jess. I recently had dinner with my dad and we were talking about the engagement. Midway into it, he asked if he could walk me down the aisle. I laughed at him and asked him why he deserved to and reminded him that he'd completely abandoned me. I told him my uncle would be the one to give me away. He and my mom ended up leaving early. My brother called and said I was an idiot and my dad deserved this right. I hung up and blocked him. Am I the idiot here? Not the idiot. Tell your dad he already gave you away when you were 9. This time you want your uncle to do the honours. I agree. He's trying to do takesies backsies without doing the work, even to try to repair your relationship. Did they ever ask you if you wanted to go home or try to keep in touch? Of course not, and I don't understand why they would assume you'd be all set for that. Exactly. I get that their son was in and out of hospitals, but they didn't bother to pick her up when he was well. Deadbeat dads don't get to walk their daughters down the aisle. The only right they have at this point is the right to go away. I find the giving the bride away thing outdated, but by traditional standards, if anyone deserves the right to give you away, it's your uncle, as he's been the father in your life. Would your dad by chance be embarrassed if others saw your uncle walk you down the aisle instead of him? Just a guess, but maybe it's an image thing. I'm baffled by the very different treatment of children by the same parents. One is showered with care, the other is ignored for 7 years. Feels like there's a piece of the puzzle missing. Did the parents never want to raise a girl? I disagree. You can have whomever you want to walk you down the aisle. That said, it is worth saying that extremely sick kid versus healthy kid situations are complicated. It can often feel like the parents love the sick child more. Your parents were probably aware of how you were responding to this situation and didn't want you to suffer because of all the attention they had to give to James's sickness. They arranged for you to stay with family, and that usually requires quite a lot of behind-the-scenes details that you probably never knew about, from your legal care to health care, guardianship, education, etc. I bet that your uncle and his wife were probably in contact quite a bit with your parents about you, and just never told you. Once James got better, you were already very happy with your current living situation. Selfish parents would probably want to take you back home, but I'd be willing to bet that they had a long conversation about it and figured you seemed happier where you were, and they likely didn't want to uproot your life again, especially if there was any chance of James getting sick again. Overall, your parents likely love you very much, and the way things went down felt like abandonment, but they were trying to give you a happy life. So if that's the reality here, then what you said might feel like they're getting punished by you for doing what they thought was best. No. OP, your parents didn't bother to see you for 5 years. So if it felt like they abandoned you, it's because they did. Phone call and basic communication skills exist. They could have contacted OP. No contact was their choice. And then they wanted to come back from the woodwork as if nothing happened and feel entitled to a position they didn't fulfill. If they were the people you're saying they are, they wouldn't be offended by OP's choice. They didn't want the walk, but they want to talk the talk about being OP's parents. My husband and I have 3 children, a teen son, a tween, and a young teen daughter. Our son got a part-time job as a lifeguard at a pool. It was a good job for him, he liked it and was happy to have the money. The issue was his boss was an idiot about giving time off. Our family takes a yearly vacation to this little beach house we rent for a year. We've done this since the year I was pregnant with my son. Of course, the kids all love it and look forward to it. Well, my son told his boss about the week he signed up, but he denied it because that was only 6 weeks after he started there. We made it clear he was still going, it's just a part-time job and there are a million of those. He protested, but we made him go and his boss fired him. He was furious the entire time. He refused to do any family stuff or listen to us, so he was grounded when he got back. It's not that we don't trust him to stay home alone or anything like that, we just don't want him to prioritize work over family, especially some weekend job. He found a job at another pool 2 weeks later, so it's not like this impacted him in any way, but he still holds a grudge about it. He claims we didn't respect his choices, and he's right. We don't respect him trying to choose his job over family time, though we don't hold it against him since he's just a teen. You are the idiot. Look, you forced him to go on vacation, costing him his job and income. Then you grounded him for being upset. Unless you offered to make up his income, then I don't see how you were being fair. Did the kids love yearly vacations, or do you? You made him lose his job. He's a teen. It's not like he's prioritizing work over vacation at his age. He's just starting to get started, and now he's got a job that can't be used for a recommendation. What have you accomplished here? Your son was fired, made the vacation worse, didn't enjoy any of it, and has learned you don't respect him. How exactly is that valuing family? You should apologize if you hope to see him after he graduates. Not only are you teaching your kid that strong work ethics aren't important, but you're also teaching him that his negative emotions aren't valid. He's angry at you because he's trying to become independent, and you're actually holding him back in a very controlling manner. Are you trying to keep your little baby from growing up and becoming a man, Mama? He's not a little boy anymore, and he had a commitment elsewhere. Then you punished him for being justifiably upset when he was fired. Allow your kid to grow up. Then you need to let go. Last week, my wife, daughter, Lizzie, toddler, and I had dinner with my family. We were there to celebrate my brother's engagement. My parents were hosting the dinner at a restaurant. It was the first time my wife and I met my brother's fiancée, Anna, as we don't live near my family. My wife is deaf and wears hearing aids. My family is aware that she's deaf. My parents have learned a few signs so they can interact with her. As she's deaf, we've been teaching Lizzie sign language. When we're in loud environments, my wife is often overwhelmed by all the noise and turns off her hearing aids. When this happens, we tell Lizzie in advance, and she knows that if she needs her mum's attention, to either stamp her feet or bang on the table so that my wife can feel the vibrations and know that Lizzie wants her. When we got to the restaurant, it was loud, so my wife told me she was turning off her hearing aids and would just lip read. My brother and Anna hadn't arrived yet, but my parents were there and they apologized for the restaurant being louder than they expected. My parents understand why she turned off her hearing aids and tried to pick somewhere quiet. When my brother and Anna arrived, I told them that wife had turned off her hearing aids. Brother just rolled his eyes while Anna had a slight look of disgust. Anna sat next to my wife at the table, and Lizzie was on the other side of my wife. Partway through dinner, Lizzie banged the table next to wife, wanting her attention, but as wife was conversing with Anna, she didn't respond to Lizzie straight away. So Lizzie banged on the table a second time, and she got my wife's attention to be taken to the toilet. While they were gone, Anna snapped at me, telling me that we needed to teach Lizzie not to be rude. I tried explaining that this is how Lizzie got her mum's attention when she turned off her hearing aids, and we encouraged it, but Anna continued that this was rude and we should parent better. Anna referred to my wife as being defective, so I made the decision for us to leave. I apologized to my parents, offered to pay for our meal, and picked up our belongings. My parents insisted that Anna apologize, but my brother agreed that the table banging had been rude. That evening, I got an angry phone call from my brother, with Anna shouting in the background, furious that I had made a scene at the restaurant and left when it was Lizzie banging on the table that had been rude. He also wants me to pay him back for dinner, as my parents made him pay for the dinner because Anna had been rude, and they didn't want to give her the idea that they supported her behavior. They left just after we did. I'm pretty sure that I'm not the idiot, as this is normal to me with my wife being deaf, but it might look rude to people on the outside. Edit, Lizzie was sitting on the end of the table. My wife was to her left and I was to her right. Yes, she could have asked me to take her to the toilet, but Lizzie doesn't like going into the men's and prefers to go with her mom. Holy cow, Anna is... wow, she called your wife defective? Defective? You are not the idiot. While generally I would say not to teach your kid to bang on the table, she's doing it for a specific purpose that's acceptable in the deaf community for attention getting. However, this tactic is usually used among deaf individuals with deaf individuals. You need to be teaching your child to get her attention in a variety of circumstances. There were multiple avenues of getting your wife's attention in this scenario that isn't as intrusive in a public setting, and your daughter needs to be taught them as well. She's 3, so you have some time. Just don't make table banging her go-to when there are other non-intrusive ways of getting a deaf person's attention. The first time she banged, you should have gotten your wife's attention instead of letting her keep on banging. Has your brother always been snarky and insulting and dismissive of your wife and her hearing issues? He has been. We are no longer as close as we once were after he suggested that I find a normal partner. He's the only one who's refused to learn a few signs. Well, looks like your brother met his soulless mate. At least this will save 2 other people from being married to these 2. Don't pay him back, and let him know that any time his fiancée decides to try to tell you how to parent your child and insult your wife, the response will be the same. And him too. If anyone, Anna is defective, given her complete lack of empathy and understanding. I have 2 daughters with 2 different women. Jade, teen, and Elle, 1 year older, are both in the same grade since Jade skipped a grade. Jade is very smart and extremely competitive, while Elle is not competitive. A while ago there was a test in their school. The test covered all of the subjects that they've learned this year, and all of the kids in their grade had to take it. Yesterday they got the results. First, Elle arrived and happily told me that she was 17th in their grade. I told her she did a really good job and I was proud of her. Then Jade came and she was crying her eyes out and went to her room without saying anything. I thought something bad had happened, but Elle told me she was crying because she became 2nd in their grade. That night, I decided to take her to her favourite restaurant to celebrate and cheer her up a bit, so the 3 of us went to celebrate, then I took the girls to their moms' homes. An hour later, Elle's mom called me to tell me that I was an idiot for only celebrating Jade. I told her that it's not like we ordered cake with Jade's name on it, or didn't take Elle with us. It was just dinner with both of the girls, and Jade was the one who was upset and did a better job, so, of course, we would go to her favourite restaurant. Am I the idiot for only celebrating one of my daughters? You are the idiot. It's totally normal for one child to excel in a certain area and another child to excel in different areas. You're supposed to show love and appreciation for both of your daughters, not the one you believe is better at something. You celebrating only Jade's achievement is such an idiot move, especially having Elle there the entire time and not celebrating her for something she equally participated in. Elle's bubble must have really burst when what she thought was a huge achievement was overshadowed by her sister. My daughter raised her math grade from a D to a B. My son came home with his usual straight A report card, apologising that his reading was only 92% this quarter. Guess which one got to choose for dinner? Both. They both did a great job. So Friday she chose dinner and he chose dessert, while Saturday he chose dinner and she chose dessert. It would be so easy for my daughter to feel inferior to her brother. All I would have to do is praise him for his usual straight A report card and barely acknowledge her improvement. Kinda like you did with your girls. Instead, I highlighted both accomplishments equally. Next time I promise you she won't even tell you how she did. She already knows you don't care. My sister-in-law's sisters are absolutely terrible. Most of what I hear about them is from my brother, but I was pretty involved in their wedding, and yeah, they sucked. Anyways, sister-in-law gave birth to twin boys 6 months ago. Her sisters still need to meet them, but my sister-in-law does send them pics. She usually only sends pictures of the boys, but apparently she sent a family one with her, and the 2 sisters started to make fun of her weight, of being the odd one out in terms of looks, and yeah. Apparently my sister cried a lot and my brother blocked them from her phone. Sadly, the damage was done. She became very self-conscious of her weight. She's now on a diet and exercises way more than I think is appropriate. She's already lost a lot of weight, but I don't think she plans on stopping. My brother's trying to support her and tells her she shouldn't listen to her sisters. She just tells him they're right and doesn't understand how he's okay with her appearance. She unblocked her sisters behind my brother's back and texted them often for advice, which is just them shaming her. I only know about this because her phone was blowing up, so I grabbed it to give it to her and noticed the names on the notifications and asked her. She admitted it and begged me not to tell my brother. She told me to keep it between us girls, claiming my brother wouldn't understand. I just said sure, but my brother told me she's getting worse and it was really depressing. I told my brother. He was very thankful. I don't know what happened between them, but my sister-in-law called me sometime later and it was clear she'd been crying. She said that I promised to keep it a secret and she couldn't believe I'd broken her trust like that. She said she was even more offended that I didn't trust her and told on her like she was some baby. When I tried explaining that I was concerned, she told me to shut up and said there was nothing to be concerned about and that I should mind my own business from now on instead of snooping through her phone and manipulating her trust. She seemed really distressed, and I couldn't help but feel like I messed things up. Maybe I shouldn't have told my brother. I clearly don't understand what she's going through, and maybe she has a valid reason for not telling her husband. I don't know, she's never ever yelled like that and my heart still hurts. Am I the idiot? Edit, I told my brother because he was falling apart from the stress of caring for her and their kids. He was worried about certain things she was saying and how she was, in a way, scared of her kids. Her own kids. She thinks those little babies care about how much she weighs. I don't know. Her sisters are fueling this, and what would your kids think sounds like something they'd tell her, so it didn't feel right not to let him know. Not the idiot. Your sister-in-law needs professional help. Maybe she suffers from PPD. Her sisters influence her mental health badly, but she relies on them for external validation. A therapist could help her unpack that. Hiding the fact that she's back in contact with her toxic sisters from her husband prevents him from successfully supporting her. She had twins 6 months ago. The things her body went through to get those boys here safely was no easy task, and she nor anyone else should expect her to be back in shape so soon. I'm not sure if she's breastfeeding or pumping, but that's another reason she needs to support and love herself. Her sisters are either jealous or just evil. Your brother is worried about his wife. Men can also have PPD, and it may be affecting him as well. So many things can happen mentally in this postpartum period. I hope your brother and sister-in-law get the help they need. You did the right thing.